Yeah, they are. They're good. Remember that one time your entire academic future depended on a test score? Or remember that one time you were waiting anxiously outside your mailbox to see whether or not you were going to get accepted into your dream school? Or how many of you actually have great high school GPAs, but not necessarily the average SAT or ACT score? Well, according to his, data has found that if high school grades are not high, good testing does not promise college success. Students with good grades and modest testing did better in college than students with higher testing and lower high school grades. Standardized testing doesn't accurately represent a student's intelligence. The question, though, is what is the solution to finding universities an accurate way to determine whether or not a student should be admitted into their school? Universities are using SAT and ACT scores to make a fast, easy cut of the applicant pool. Universities are quickly weeding out students with lower test scores in order to make it easier when finding their dream students. Students are getting either denied, accepted, or waitlisted just due to their test score. Think about how many applicants a school gets every semester. Schools must have some sort of rubric to follow in order to make the selection process more swiftly. Because of this, according to Dr. Kat Cohen, most schools have a rubric that would involve your transcript, standardized testing scores, school involvement, and what makes you diverse as a student. So as qualified as you might be as a student, you might just not follow in their rubric, and that's just, the reality of it. Universities should look at so much more than just a student's test score. Standardized testing is not enough to determine whether or not a student will succeed at a university. To begin with, many students have testing anxiety. According to the Washington Post, actually, it's not clear exactly how many students have it, but severe test anxiety could afflict as much as 20% of the school-going population. According to the American Test Anxiety Association, and another 18% may have a moderate form of the condition. For those who don't have testing anxiety, they might just be farther along on the education compared to the rest of their schoolmates. I know for me, by the time I took the ACT, I had already been taking courses that I took as a freshman that I needed for the test, and so it was hard for me to remember back to those times. In addition, according to Forbes, low-income students score an average of 300 points lower than high-income students. This is unfair for universities to focus on just test scores when low-income students just don't have the opportunities like their high-income peers. Universities should consider the courses a student has completed and their end grades in the said course compared to their testing scores. Imagine what a university would look like if they were to focus on the courses that the student had completed, the extracurricular activities they were involved in, and what type of person they were in general. If universities were to do this, then we would have highly diversified schools throughout our world. Universities would stop looking to improve their acceptance statistics and instead be able to improve their university as a whole. Students should be able to get into their dream schools instead of being turned away just due to a score. According to the Washington Post, there are over 850 schools that don't require test scores to be sent in. An example of this would be Ithaca College, and they actually did research to prove that they were allowed to send in test scores if they wanted, but it only differed by just a little for those who did send in scores versus those who didn't with their GPA and testing. If we focus mainly on SAT and SAT scores, then we will all continue just to be a statistic. We should strive to make schools stand out because of their incredible students and not students who were taught to take a test well. Universities will become better as a whole and become more well-rounded if they abolish reliance on SAT and ACT scores in admittance. I hope you will all agree with me that universities should abolish their reliance on SAT and ACT scores when it comes to admitting students to their universities. It's not like we can go to the university council and be like, hey, abolish scores. But we can just make students be more aware that they need to prove themselves to a university that why they should be admitted to the school. And additionally, the most important thing to remember is that you're so much more than just a test number or a test score that you get, that you should really try and prove yourself when applying to future schools because you do belong to be there no matter what your scores may look like. I plan to challenge schools when they ask the generic, why should you be accepted into this university question. I believe that we should prove, no matter what our test scores are, that we're unique individuals who have a lot to offer at our dream school. I would love to say that I plan to march to some magical university council and make them abolish their reliance on the scores, but we all know that council just doesn't even exist. Don't let a school say no to you just because you don't fit their everyday rubric. As Rachel Platten once said, this is my fight song, take back my life song, prove I'm alright song, and nobody cares if nobody else believes, because I've still got a lot of fight left in me.